What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tactics, and today I want to talk to you guys about something, and that something is rape. That's probably the worst segue into a story ever. No, sorry, I don't exactly want to talk to you guys about rape, but this story kind of pertains to rape to a degree. I don't know if a lot of you guys have heard about this particular news story. It's not really even news. It's more so just something that happened. It's not really newsworthy. But a comedian by the name of Daniel Tosh, very funny comedian. I actually really like him a lot. And he's got a show called Tosh.0 or something like that. And he also does like stand-up and everything. But yesterday I was surfing Facebook and I noticed that he's getting a lot of flack for a particular stand-up set that he did pertaining to a joke he made about rape and girls getting raped. And yeah, a lot of people are kind of going in on this dude for it. But you know, there's a lot of comedians out there who are not necessarily supporters, because then that would mean that you're kind of a supporter of, you know, making jokes about rape or whatever. But I mean, a lot of comedians kind of stand by his side and are not you know, putting him under the bus for this situation. But anyway, he was doing a stand-up routine apparently, and he made some kind of outlandish comment about rape. And one of a female in the audience kind of got offended by that, you know, which is understandable, and said that it wasn't funny and that she was really insulted. And rather than him apologizing, he kind of just kept going with it, kept going with the joke, and kept making more jokes pertaining to rape and whatnot. And eventually, like afterwards, you know, he apologized on Twitter and tried to explain himself and whatnot. And yeah, now he's kind of having to go through all this bullshit that what's his name, Tracy Morgan, had to go through when he made a insulting joke about gay people. Not necessarily gay people, but he made a joke stating that if his son was gay, that he would, you know, he would kill himself or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that verbatim. I don't know exactly what was said. I didn't actually see the stand-up, but it was something along those lines, right? Now, I don't consider myself a comedian. Yes, I do comedy videos on YouTube on my other channel. Go check that out, Tactics87, shameless plug. But at the same time, okay, so here's my opinion. Like, I kind of emote, or I kind of understand it from both sides of the spectrum. So, not to say that I'm a comedian, but being that I understand how comedians work and how they think, you know, how most comedy works is there's a very thin line. You know, and oftentimes you like, you know, there are certain comedians who come off very facetious. They poke fun at serious issues to lighten the issue. You know what I mean? And like, some people can understand it, conceptualize it, and take it for what it is. It's just a joke, right? And then there's other people who kind of, you know, feel as though a boundary's been crossed, and, you know, comedians have limitations in terms of what they can and cannot say. Again, you know, this can be very difficult for a comedian whose main shtick is being facetious, right? And I'm sure I've said quite a few things that some people didn't agree with and found insulting or whatever. But, you know, pertaining to this whole Daniel Tosh thing now, a lot of people, you know, while I do understand that, yeah, there is a thin line when it comes to rape, and rape is a serious issue, and it's very hard to make a joke about rape in a sense where people can actually find the humor out of it, because rape isn't a funny thing, you know what I mean? So it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and you're always walking on thin ice when you talk about issues like that, expecting a laugh from an entire audience, right? What I've come to realize is that, you know, as a comedian, you can't please everybody, right? And, you know, not everybody has the same sense of humor, you know, so it's very challenging. And the thing is, I've noticed that on Twitter, a lot of people have been comparing this situation to the whole Michael Richards thing, right? I saw one tweet where this girl was saying, "Oh, what? Michael Richardson says the word nigger and all hell breaks loose." But Daniel Tosh, says a joke about rape, and like it's like people don't even really even care, or they're making excuses for him or whatever. Now again, I do not agree with that whatsoever, because Michael Richardson, when he dropped the N-word, nigger, you have to evaluate that situation in the context that it was being said, right? Because when I saw that video of Michael Richardson, or Richard, or whatever his name is, Kramer, when he kind of went berserk and had like a freak out and started dropping the N-word or whatever, when you look at it from the context in which it was being said, that wasn't part of his act. You know what I mean? He actually meant that maliciously, and he had pointed out to, some African Americans that were watching his show or whatever like that. And yes, they were heckling him, but, to take it racial is way out of term. You know what I mean? Now, if you look at another comedian, Louis C.K., I believe his name is, who I just stumbled upon, who I find to be fucking hilarious. Very crude and raunchy humor, but I love it. Dude is fucking hilarious. And I was watching one of his stand-ups, and he said the word nigger, and he was talking about black dudes. You know what I mean? And well, actually, I guess that doesn't really count, because I think he's Mexican. So, I guess my point is no longer valid, because he's Mexican, and as far as I know, Mexicans are allowed to say the word nigger. But there was another white comedian actually who did say the word nigger, but when you look at it from the context in which he was saying it, he wasn't saying it maliciously. And yeah, again, there's a fine line that white people using that word, white people shouldn't use that word, So for any white people watching this, don't start getting bold and be like, "Hey, buddy, could you pass the nigger? Ketchup." You know what I mean? Because you probably would get fucked up, right? But I mean, I've watched some comedians where, white comedians where they'll drop the N-word, and I take it for what it is. It's just a joke. It's not like they're calling the entire room fucking niggers, or an they're speaking on an individual person or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Again, it's the context, right? Mind you, it's not recommended. I mean, if you're an upcoming facetious comedian and you want to use the N-word in one of your acts, I mean, tread carefully, because if you're on BET, Comic View or some shit, which I don't even think happens anymore, but if you're in a room full of black people and that's part of your act, then it's gonna be a long walk to that exit, bro. I hope you travel with a big entourage of security. But anyway, this whole Daniel Tosh thing, the whole joke about rape or whatever, Now, the reason why he kept going with the joke rather than stopping and apologizing is because he was in the moment. It's like, you're a comedian. You're supposed to make people laugh. You know what I mean? You don't break... It's like you're putting on a show. You're acting on stage. You don't break character just to accommodate to this one person who disagrees with the point that you made. Because the truth of the matter is, a majority of the people in the audience were laughing at the joke. You know what I mean? They probably thought, "Oh, wow, that's fucked up. He just made a joke about rape." But, I mean, you're laughing at it, so... you find it funny, so you're just as sick and twisted as this guy, right? Now, again, my opinion is kind of up in the air. I don't really know how I feel about this, because, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that rape is funny, because rape isn't funny, you know what I mean? But, a lot of things, some people find humor in certain things. Not necessarily that they're an avid supporter of rape, and he's promoting, guys to rape women and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Even Louis C.K. made a joke saying something about rape, where it's like, "Oh, force yourself on a girl," or whatever. That's the only way you can get sex or something. I'm butchering the joke right now, but I mean, he made a joke about it, and no one really came down on him for it. And it's just a joke, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I understand it from both sides. I understand that it's a serious issue, and I can only imagine how a person who has been raped might feel when it comes to a joke like that. But anyway, that's where I stand with it. I don't really know where I stand, actually. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you guys think. And what side you're on. Like, I mean, do you understand it from a comedian standpoint, or are you completely sympathetic to the girl who was complaining? Maybe she was raped and, took it really serious. But, yeah, let me know.